Welcome students, my name is Bill Dodson, your instructor for this class, and today I'm going to show you a little bit of the functionality of the SmartBoard. What you see on the screen here now is Smart Software. I've created this file to help me in this demonstration, and we'll get into more detail on the functionalities of the software a little bit later. I also want to say a disclaimer about the sensitivity of this board. This is a newer board than most of you will use in the classroom, and sometimes the sensitivity of it is a little bit off, so you may have to see me touch something several times to get it to work. Okay, as you can see, I just touched the board and it changed the screen. We have the work area here in the center. We have the different pages or slides that I've created for this demonstration. And if we were doing this in a face-to-face classroom, I would have a student come up and sign in, like this. Pick a pen up off the tray. You notice I have picked up the blue pen and it's writing blue. If I wanted to write red, I would pick up the red pen. We'll talk more about the pen tray in a little bit more. Next, the three components of the SmartBoard. You have to have three things for the SmartBoard to work. First of all, you have to have the computer. And, of course, you need the SmartBoard. Now we'll talk about the three components of the SmartBoard. First you have, of course, the computer. You also need the SmartBoard, and we have a projector. Now you notice how I have moved these rectangles around on the screen. We'll show you how to do that a little later. To connect the SmartBoard, you first have to connect it to the computer. Then you connect the computer to your projector, and finally what comes from the computer is then projected on the SmartBoard, which gives you the functionality of the SmartBoard. Now the technology behind this, you have three components. First of all, the front of the SmartBoard is a plastic polymer type surface that's very durable and cleanable. In the back of it you have the analog resistance layer, or the surface, and that's where the electronics are, and that's what does all the good things that the SmartBoard does. And in between you have an air gap, and when you press the SmartBoard, you press through the air gap and touches the analog resistant surface, and that's what causes it to do all the good things that it does. Now let's talk about the pen tray a little bit. And you'll see me referring to my notes from time to time to be sure I don't leave anything out. These pens are just simply plastic. They look like a magic marker, but there is no harmful chemicals or anything on this. It's just a piece of plastic. And when I picked up the blue marker, you may be able to see the green light came on, which means that blue is the color I'm using. If I picked up the pen that was located in the green tray, we now have green. If I put green back in the blue place, it won't make any difference. If I put a quarter in the green area, the quarter would cause the light to go out, and you could use the quarter for that matter to write with. But let's say that I have picked up the pen. It doesn't really matter if I write with the pen or not. As long as the pen is out of the tray, I can write with my finger. Or for that matter, I could write with my elbow. Pretty cool, huh? And also, as any good board would have, you've got an eraser, which works just like a chalk eraser. Or, if you have a lot of things on your board you want to get rid of, you can do this neat trick. Circle it and tap, and it erases everything in the center. Again, pretty cool. You also have some buttons on your keyboard. You have one button for a keyboard. You have buttons on the pen tray. You have a keyboard button and a right-click mouse button. You push the keyboard button, it will bring up a screen that has a keyboard. And you have here just a classic keyboard. Now this is not the keyboard that you want to bring up Microsoft Word in and type a term paper. But if you want to type in the URL of a website or something in a search engine, or you would just want to type a word or two, this will work. And it's just you tap the letters in order to use them on this touch screen. You also have other keyboards. From the drop-down menu here, you have a number pad. If you're typing in a bunch of numbers, you'd like to use that. You have also simple keyboards. Let's say you're in elementary school or primary school and the children don't know anything about typing or the QWERTY keyboard, then you can use this simple keyboard that has the letters in alphabetical order for them. And it also has a simple capital letter keyboard. Another thing that's pretty cool is this write. Now let's say that we had a website open or you had a Word document open and you wanted to type something into that Word document. As long as that document is open, you could write something on here. And after a few seconds, it will transfer itself to that document. Or you could open up that toolbar and you have the send button that will give you a little bit more time. You write what's on here, and you make sure your cursor is where you want it to be on your other document, and then you send it there. So it gives you that functionality. That's pretty good. So we will close that. And you also have the right mouse click button here. We use that a lot. If you press that one time, the next time you touch the board, whatever program you're in, whatever right mouse click menu that's available, it'll show up on the screen. And you can make your choice from that. Touch the screen and cause it to go away. It's a one-time only thing. If I touch again, it doesn't come up until I press the button again and have the right click menu come up. Okay. Both of these buttons, if pressed together, will bring up an orientation screen. Now let me say something about orientation first. In the classroom situation, you're going to have a smart board either hanging on the wall or on a stand. You'll have the projector either in the ceiling or on a cart back in the room. Now in order for when I touch the screen for the cursor to be where my finger is, all these components need to be oriented. So let's say that you have a smart board on a stand with wheels on it. Children are going to bump into that from time to time. If that moves, it disorients the smart board. Or if the projector is moved in any way, it will be disoriented, and I might touch here and have the cursor show up over there, depending on how disoriented it is. So to orient the board, you press both buttons at the same time, and it comes up with an orientation screen. And it's asking you to touch the middle of the plus sign. You'll get that sound if you do it properly. I missed that one. So now, wherever I touch, the screen is oriented. You can also get to orientation in some other ways. Down here on the systems tray, here's the sensitivity issue that I mentioned earlier. You can bring up the orientation screen from here, or you can go to the control panel and go to Smartboard settings. I'm going to have to orient it again. Let's do that again. That seems to be working. I was going to say that you can orient the smartboard not just using the 9 points, but you can go up to 20 points if you go to the control panel, which makes it really precise. Okay. Some safety issues. Now, say you have something you're going to explain to your children. Here's a good functionality of the SmartBoard. We have a feature called the screen. So if I bring the screen down, you can see it covers the whole screen, and it has little dimples at the top, bottom, right, and left in order for you to slide that screen back and forth to emphasize points you're talking about. So let's say we're going to talk about safety issues today. How do you be safe with a SmartBoard? Well, first of all, the cords. You have to watch out for the cords. We have cords laying on the floor. Students, as you're going to recess to lunch, watch out, don't trip over the cords. Another safety issue is the board feet. If the SmartBoard is on a stand, it's going to have feet or legs that stick out with wheels on them. You don't want to trip over those. And as you know, it messes up your orientation. You also have the projector light. Students, the light is very, very bright. You never want to look right into the light bulb. Don't be tempted to do it. Then also, that light is several hundred degrees hot, so you never want to touch the light that's in the projector. Of course, if it's in the ceiling like some of them are, you won't have to worry about it. And to get rid of the screen, press the X. All right. Next, we're going to talk about transparency layer. Now, you may not have ever seen an overhead projector before, but in the old days, this was one of the pieces of technology that was used. You had a bulb that would shine onto a screen, and the teacher would have a transparent sheet of plastic that they would set on top of the device, the overhead projector, and with a grease pencil, which was like a crayon, they would write on the transparent piece of plastic, and it would show up on the screen. We have an updated version of that with the SmartBoard. And to demonstrate that, I'll bring up a web page. Here's the UVA WISE web page. And if you'll notice, when I pick up a pen, you'll see a small border come around the outside edge of this website. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not, but let's watch and see. Small white border, you see that? When I put the pen down, it disappears. The small white border comes up, and that is that transparency, that piece of plastic that the teachers used to use on that overhead projector. So when that transparency is up here, you can imagine that I will be writing on that sheet of plastic. So if I want to emphasize something, I'm actually not writing on that website, of course, but I'm making a point. And I can go through a PowerPoint presentation, a document of any kind of a website, using the pen technology and writing on this. So that is the transparent sheet. Now, if I put the pen down and tap the screen, that's going to go away, so it won't be on the next slide. But here it says, click here to restore writing. Now, I didn't click fast enough, so how am I going to get that back? Let's see. We're going to go to System Tools. Oh, excuse me. It's already up there. No, it's not. Well. We're going to have to skip this part of it. What I was going to say is you can go to System Tools, and there is an icon that is the undo button. You can undo that, and your writing would show back up again. Okay, also, I'm going to have to bring this up to demonstrate that. I tell you what, go back to the trusty old keyboard on the computer. Okay. Floating tools. Now we have the floating tools here. If I want to screen capture some of what I have on here, I'll press the camera icon, and you notice you can see a little plus sign here. If I want, say, to capture these pictures and save it for something else, I can touch, drag, and let go. And after a few seconds, that is capturing that to the Smart Notebook software. So if I bring back up my Smart Notebook, it's created another blank page and placed it in the middle here, and there's what I had saved from the other screen. Now let's say that I want to capture the whole screen. Again, touch. By the way, here's the undo arrow that we couldn't see earlier. If I touch the camera icon again, then instead of drawing a rectangle around what I want to save, if I just touch the screen, capturing to notebook software, and now that whole screen is captured into the notebook software. And I can save these. We'll look at that in more detail in one of the other sessions, but we can save this as an image and use it in anything we want. So that is the basic operation of the Smartboard. We'll have 2 or 3 other sessions where we'll look at the notebook software. We'll look at some other cool things that the Smartboard will do, and you're going to enjoy trying that. Thank you.